Live from Evanston, Illinois, this is Bruce DuMont with our Beyond the Beltway analysis of national politics, featuring occasional injections of rumor and innuendo, all offered up by a panel of political insiders, pundits, power brokers, professors, and most importantly, plain-speaking Americans from coast to coast. Tonight featured commentary from Mays Jackson from WVON Radio, Chicago conservative attorney Judith Sherwin, real estate auctioneer Rick Levin, economist from DePaul University Mike Miller, and Terry Savage, syndicated financial columnist. I'm Bruce DuMont. Thanks for joining us from our flagship station here at WCGO in Evanston, Illinois. And we've got another full 2 hours for you this evening. In hour number one, we're going to have a combination of just two guests in hour number one, something a little bit different. And in the second hour, we're going to be talking about the economic problems facing this nation and what is likely to happen. And we've got three great guests in hour number two. I'm going to begin with welcoming Judith Sherwin and Mays Jackson. Mays, it's nice to have you on this program. We have tried to do this a number of times in the past. For those listening around the country, you are a well-known personality in the Chicago area hosting mornings on WVON, so it's nice to have you on Beyond the Beltway.
Honored to be here, and honored to be here with the legendary Bruce DuMont. It is, I was there one time before with Dan Prof, but he's nothing like you, Bruce.
Well, thank you very much. You probably were a young boy when you first heard this program many years ago. I want to begin. One of the big stories of emerging in the last several days is Barack Obama has popped up and thrust himself into the campaign. And I'm wondering, how important is Barack Obama to Joe Biden's success in November, Mays?
I think we get a lot of nostalgia from it, but I don't think that Barack Obama turns out anyone that wasn't already voting for Joe Biden. Additionally, I would, and this is now, Bruce, I don't know, I'm not politically correct, right? So this is probably tough for
That's good.
a person to say, a guy to say, but I'm not sure that, particularly in the Black community, I think we still revere President Obama as the first Black president from the symbolic. But I think when we look at the outcomes, the actual tangible outcomes, I think that he is not necessarily going to be the driving force to turn people out, particularly in the Black community.
Judy Sherwin, I want to get Judy Sherwin's response. You're a conservative Republican, but you certainly know the power of Barack Obama. But is it going to mean much for turnout? If Mays says maybe the turnout helps more in white liberal communities than it does anywhere else.
Yeah, I would agree with Mays as far as the Black community is concerned. I don't think, based on the results in South Carolina and the boost that he got from the Black community there without Barack Obama's endorsement, I don't think Barack Obama is really going to help Joe Biden very much. I do think he might help in the white liberal community, but I don't see him dragging people to the polls. If he were on the ticket, he would drag people to the polls because of the reverberation that people have for him, both in the Black community and the white community. It was a very big deal when Barack Obama was elected president, even for those of us who didn't support him. And so I think, but
does he rev up Trump's base?
I'm sorry?
Does he rev up Trump's base?
Probably, yeah. People in Trump's base feel like his 8 years in office was a bad time for them. Uh-huh. Not because he was Black, but because of the globalism and sending jobs overseas and his foreign policies and what they felt was a real abandonment of that, blue wall that was supposed to hold for Hillary.
All right, I want to go back to Mays to dig a little bit deeper. When you say there was great pride, obviously, with Barack Obama being elected president within the African American communities of America, but again, with 4 years hindsight, are Blacks happy that he was president, and did they see their lives change for the better during those 8 years?
So let me say this. I would say that there will never be anything that can diminish Barack Obama's presidency as the first Black president in our community.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing, and if you say anything bad about him, I'm already borderline skating on thin ice right now.
Right.
However, I think when you talk about tangible outcomes, no one will say it out loud, and I'm probably going to be in trouble for saying it to a broader white audience. But I think when Black folks look back, we look back, even if you look at Chicago particularly, if you look at or Illinois particularly, we didn't do particularly better in any way, shape, or form or benefit. When you look at Texas, for instance, they blew up after George Bush's because they brought the bacon home. I don't know if locally, I don't know if Barack Obama really now is showing how much of a Chicagoan he really is or is not. Nationally, you can't say anything bad about Barack Obama, but at the same time, I think we all look back and we recognize that we probably should have pressed him harder to get more things accomplished in our community. Are things better now? No.
Okay. Well, one of the things that was certainly a focal point of what happened during those 8 years in Chicago and elsewhere around the country, but certainly in Chicago, there was the epidemic of shootings and killings in his hometown. And there wasn't much, at least from the federal level, there wasn't much action focused on that problem.
I think that's the first thing that the general market will point to is the violence in Chicago. That violence existed before Obama. It still continues to this day. I think we're seeing the outspring of that. The same root causes of that violence is the same root causes of why Black people are dying exponentially because of COVID-19. There has been systemic disinvestment in the Black community forever and ever and ever. And Barack Obama, quite frankly, continued that tradition. I would suggest that his response is no different than any federal response that we've seen, Black or white.
Judy, a question to you. When you look at how this campaign is unfolding now, one of the other big stories, obviously, of the last, actually a long time, but certainly the most recent move on it, was the decision involving General Quinn and also the FBI and the Justice Department. And my question to you is, as a political issue, is General Flynn that important, or is he viewed by at least many independents as an issue that's in the rearview mirror and is only it's only a turn on for the real diehards who are going to vote for Trump anyway?
Well, I have to, if you listen to CNN or you watch CNN, according to them, General Flynn is 4 years in the rearview mirror, and who really cares about that anyway? However, the idea, one of the main ideas of American politics is that no matter how we fight, no matter how we pull each other's hair out, when those 4 years are ended, or those 8 years are ended, and a new president is elected, there is a peaceful and open transition of the government from one administration to the other. It seems rather clear that did not happen this time.
Okay, we've got to pause. We've got to pause, and we'll be back. I'm Bruce DuMont. Thanks for joining us tonight.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
A line is a powerful thing. It connects the global economy to your living room, cleaner air to stronger markets, factory floors to less crowded roads, today's progress to tomorrow's promise. Norfolk Southern. One line, infinite possibilities.
Continuing on Beyond the Beltway, let's head to the Southwest. Let's go to Austin, Texas, where Joseph is listening to us tonight on KLBJ. Go ahead, Joseph.
Okay, thank you, Bruce. Yeah, I have a question for the I guess the Democrat.
Well, he's a talk show host. I don't think he wants to be known as one thing or the other. He's just an outspoken talk show host. Go ahead.
Okay. Yes, I was commenting on Obama, the Obama administration, and the fact that he didn't do enough for the black community, especially in Chicago, which was supposedly his hometown.
Right.
I was wondering, does the black community realize that they live in America? The free enterprise is available to them. They can help themselves.
Well, let's let Mays tackle that. Mays, I'm sure you've heard this before, but your reaction to it.
I hear that all the time, and I think that we do believe in free enterprise. And quite frankly, if you look at the black community, I don't think with the level of government investment or lack thereof, if we didn't believe in free enterprise, we probably would be wiped off the map. That stated, my belief as it relates to believing in free enterprise is that we have to at least recognize that black people in this country have started way, way, way behind. And so when you look at things like redlining, when you look at the fact that there's no access to capital, yes, there is free enterprise, but you have to be participating in the mainstream system. And I think, quite frankly, we've been left out and left behind in most cases.
Bruce,
Judith,
if I could
stand by, Joseph. Go ahead, Judith.
Yeah, I mean, so I understand that that's a historic position, and I can't argue with that, all right? So along comes somebody like Donald Trump, who when he's campaigning in 2016, goes around to the black community and says, what have you got to lose, right? And he, in his administration, I think it's hard to argue that he has not reached out to the black community, that he has not tried to bring economic impact to the black community. Senator Tim Scott created this idea of the enterprise zones. Trump grabbed a hold of this and has been pushing this around the country. He's reached out to the historic black colleges. He's done a variety of things.
Judith, before you go further, I'll let you continue, but Mays, I want you to follow up and react to what Judith has said just thus far.
So again, I'm in the 100 millionth minority in the black community that would publicly say that Judith, in some cases, you are right. That Donald Trump has attempted to reach out. I think that the level of vitriol is so high that in our community, we are programmed so much to say that he is a bad guy. What I have advocated for my listening audience is that Donald Trump is the highest elected official in the land, black or white. We have to advocate for ourselves. What the government has, what Chuck and Nancy have consistently done is told us to resist while they continue to go into meet with Donald Trump and move forward. The challenge for black people politically is that so much of the rhetoric is brought to the forefront and we can't get past the rhetoric and get to the soup and nuts of the issue. I would not argue with you to say that he has not reached out. I think that it is how has it been credible and how has it been consistent, and then who is he reaching out to? I would say that the Black Caucus and Congressional Black Caucus has failed the black community in a lot of cases because there were a lot of initiatives that could have been taken advantage of, and it's a shame that Kim Kardashian has been able to be more impactful in the criminal justice system than all of the black people that have sat out this situation. So I'll step back.
Mays, when you say that to African Americans and you talk about the criminal justice efforts that the president had, which others had tried and never pushed over the goal line, what is the reaction to that?
I think there's probably people with pitchforks outside my house right now.
Really?
I think that there is such the intensity. I would like it, the intensity, and Judy, I would go back to something you said before when you said that Barack Obama. It didn't have to do with the fact that a lot of people felt that they weren't succeeding under Barack Obama, and you listed all of those globalizations and all that stuff. But in my mind and to the minds of Black folks, fundamentally, that's all fluff for the fact that it is really because he's Black or
Yes,
because he was
that's-
Black.
All right. Here's the thing, though, and I think you missed this because I said this too, and I'm not sure you heard me. When Barack Obama was elected, that was a milestone in my life, in my white life. Okay, I was, and I was very happy to see that, and I thought that this was a turning point for America. Okay, and somehow it has not been. Okay, it in many ways we're almost worse than we were before he was elected. I mean, if white people in America are so terrible, how did he get elected twice? Some of those people, you think, may have
White guilt. Can I answer that?
Yeah.
White guilt. White guilt.
Okay,
White guilt. Right? I feel like
okay,
Okay.
that's true for a lot of people. I agree with you. And I can't stand it when I hear the white guilt. I want, it makes my head pop off. Okay.
But
All right. You don't know very much about me and my background, but Bruce could tell you.
Yeah.
When I first met Bruce, I was in the anti-war movement. I was working in Black churches on the vote
Right.
and in Cicero.
you were very left. You were very left when I
Huh?
knew you 45 years
Very,
ago.
very left wing, very pro civil rights.
Yeah. Yep.
When I was 17 years old, I had the great honor of meeting Martin Luther King, which is like one of the greatest moments of my life. So, the thought of the white guilt stuff drives me crazy. There are a lot of people who were very happy to see Barack Obama and to see him elected who weren't guilty. And there are a lot of independents, and there are a lot of those people who had their jobs taken away from them eventually by all these miserable trade treaties and everything else, who were happy to see him elected because we want the country to move forward. Okay. And the country is
But-
never going to move forward
Let me
unless we can solve this problem.
let
Okay.
me interject here for a moment because again, if people just tuned in, they might have thought that Barack Obama is running for president again in November because we've spent so much time talking about him. But like we've had a debate over whether or not he will be elected. So I want to switch gears and again talking about the future. To what extent are people in your neighborhood and your constituents, the people that you talk with on a regular basis, how fearful are they of the future in a post-COVID-19 world, if such a world ever arrives? Mays.
I would say initially people were very cavalier. I think that as we are starting to see these new rules, sort of the infringement on our constitutional rights in different ways, people are starting to get a little bit nervous. I think when you see that the mask requirements and the fact that you can be arrested now, the state is now being divided up in the zones. So we're one state, right? But there's different zones. So can you imagine me, Mays Jackson, driving from Chicago to Springfield? Once I get past Joliet, what that zone looks like and what. So I think what we are really starting to work, and one of the biggest things that I'm hearing is that we will be stigmatized by this disease because it kills Black people, and there will be some way to utilize it to marginalize, or not marginalize, but to put an additional scarlet letter on us.
But would you acknowledge though, since the pre-existing conditions, the health conditions that contribute to death by COVID-19, many of those conditions, like diabetes and hypertension, are rampant in the black community. They've been rampant in the black community forever. And are those maladies, which is part of the black health experience, should those be pinned on white people?
No, what I think it should be pinned on is systemic disinvestment in communities. Let me give you an example, and then I'm just going to go, and then I'll turn it back over to Judy. But
okay,
I would say that the black diet that we know, the delicacies, the soul food, all of those things that are readily available in our community were part of a diet that are cheap because there's not a lot of money, and they probably derived from a non-healthy diet from a slave diet. Now, let me move to where we are now. When you talk about diabetes and high blood pressure, go to a black community and see how many the food desert. No, what it is we have Arab corner stores that are owned by people who do not live in our communities, who do not care about ensuring that we have healthy food, etc. We don't own any grocery stores, and so we don't own those little restaurants. And so what you look at is
you see, excuse me for interrupting, I've got to interrupt. You basically see convenience stores that are filled with junk food. We've got 100%. To pause. We've got to pause, and we'll be back. 1-800-723-8289. When we come back, we'll talk more with our guests and your calls. 1-800-723-8289.
Here's how you can make your own face covering in a few easy steps with items you can find around the house, like an old scarf, a bandana or a hand towel, or you can make a face covering out of an old t-shirt. Fold it to the middle from the bottom, fold it to the middle from the top, fold it again to the middle from the bottom, and again from the top, and then 2 rubber bands, one on one side and one on the other side. Then you fold either side to the middle, and you have yourself cloth face covering. It's that easy.
Flintstones, meet the Flintstones, they're the modern Stoic family. From the town of Beltway, meet George Jetson.
With instant acceleration, electric cars are more fun to drive and more affordable than ever. Electric cars are here. Plug in to the present.
Bruce DuMont back in Evanston, Illinois. Thank you very much for joining us, and let us now introduce our guests, or let them introduce themselves, and we'll begin tonight with Mays Jackson. Mays, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, my name is Mays Jackson. I'm happy to be on Beyond the Beltway. I am the host of the WVON Morning Show. You can catch me every day, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. on 1690 a.m. That's WVON, or you can watch us on Facebook Live on the Mays Jackson page.
Very good. Judith Sherwin.
Hi, I'm Judy Sherwin. I'm an attorney in Chicago. I also teach First Amendment issues at Loyola Law School, and I teach some courses in ethics and business in the online program of the law school. And I'm very happy to be on the show tonight with Mays.
Very good. By the way, in hour number 2, we're going to be joined by Mike Miller from DePaul University and Rick Levin, who is a real estate auctioneer, and Terry Savage, nationally syndicated financial columnist. They'll be joining us. We'll be talking about the economy and the future for the country in hour number 2 of Beyond the Beltway. And let me also mention to you, as you know, since we left the Chicago Museum of Broadcast Communications, from our origination point, the cost of producing this program has gone up. And you've heard me say in previous months on this program that the production costs of this program are getting they're getting rather high. It may not look like that, but trust me, they are. And so I am appealing once again for those to go to our GoFundMe page. And again, there was great response when I first mentioned this last December. We're a little over halfway to our goal right now. But if you go to a GoFundMe and look up Beyond the Beltway, or maybe even an easier way to do it is go to beyondthebeltway.com. Right there on the homepage, there's a place where you can click on donate, and every penny, I promise to you, every penny will be used for the satellite production of this program each and every Sunday night. So wherever you're listening to us, or if you are watching us online, this will help defray those costs to keep this program coming to you on radio, on television, on the internet, for as long as we possibly can. So go to beyondthebeltway.com and give as best you can. I realize things are tough out there, but do the best you can to support us on our GoFundMe campaign. Now let's go to Michael, who's listening to us in Kansas City, Missouri. Go ahead, Michael.
Hi, thanks for having me on. It's Michael,
Good.
Kansas City. Just first-time caller and first-time listener. The last guest said something about the black population getting more infected or something.
Right.
And it said something about we don't own any grocery stores or don't own any restaurants. It's just not true in my part of the country. I don't know about hers, but lots of black people own restaurants, lots of black people own stores, and I don't really know where that came into play. But it just seems like they try to divide everything by race and making this COVID-19 a race issue. It is not a racial issue. It affects everyone the same. If you happen to have underlying conditions and in poor physical health, then it's obviously going to affect you more.
Michael, let me just interject for a moment, and then I'm going to let Mays respond. But let me just say something. In the major cities of America, at least the reporting that I have seen is that the largest percentage of those who've been affected and inflicted with COVID-19 are African American. I do not know whether that includes those that have died from COVID-19, but certainly those who have been infected with it. So that seems to be a fact in all the major cities. The mayor of Chicago has made a major point of that, and it goes back to the disparity, some of the health disparities insofar as health facilities in African American communities, and it also goes into some systemic things like hypertension and diabetes, which is more prevalent, or certainly significantly prevalent, in the African American communities. And Mays was getting into sort of the historical nature of the diet. But I think the point that Mays was going to make, and I'll let him make it, was that the grocery stores, there are not traditional large grocery stores in African American communities, at least in Chicago and certainly in Los Angeles. Those are two cities that I can reference. So I'm going to let him pick up on that because you are correct. Everyone makes their own decision. They make their own decision as to what they put in their mouth or they put in their arm. But the point is, I'm going to let Mays continue with his thought, and we'll go back to you for a final word. Go ahead, Mays.
You know what? So first of all, let me thank you for even calling in and being a first-time caller and a first-time listener, and I appreciate you being willing to share your opinions. Look, I think one of the things that white America would like to do is conveniently ignore the role that race plays in our everyday lives. Oftentimes, for white America, it is something that you really don't have to experience. You can push it to the side and really go about your day without ever being concerned with the issues that are going on in the Black community. Now, I will tell you that there are some personal responsibility issues, but there are some things and some traditions that go back years and years and years that have been learned and need to be unlearned. I don't think that we all start at the same place. And so I think that there are specific needs and specific issues that are plaguing the Black community. Now, let me just, and then I'll wrap up very quickly. When I talk about in our community, the Black community has become the place where people who come from other countries come to get their start, right? So if you go to a Black community, if you look at the Koreans, the Arabs, the Mexicans, the whoever, and I mean that by no offense, they come to our communities, they pull their resources, they start businesses, and then they take those resources out of our community because they have access to capital, both culturally and actual physical capital. There are some real rebuilding things that need to happen in the Black community. And the fact that COVID-19 in Illinois, Black people are last in all 16 economic indicators. So for us to be first in COVID-19 deaths, Bruce, and what I think we really need to look at is around the country, the survival rate is almost 90 something percent. 30% of all the people who die are Black. Okay, I'm through.
Let me ask one follow-up, and then I will go back to Michael. In the African-American communities, and I'm talking about communities all over the country, and I'm talking for the last 75 years, there has been a significant amount of Black wealth. Are you saying that Black wealth, and I don't just mean Oprah and LeBron James and Michael Jackson or Michael Jordan, what percentage, if you can, of major Black wealth has been reinvested in the Black community to put a grocery store or to put in other things that help commerce?
Bruce, where is this Black wealth that you speak of? If you take out sports and entertainment, if you stop watching Blackish on TV, which makes everybody feel like it's all good, the fact of the matter is Black wealth has declined significantly in this country. We still are not recovered from the last recession when the economy crashed. That Black wealth does not exist. Go ahead, Judith. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Well,
no.
go ahead.
I understand what you're saying, and I have to come back to what I said before. You have someone in the White House who says, I want to help. I want to do things in the Black community. I'm reaching out to the Black community. And you say to me, well, that's not going to work because the level of vitriol is so terrible that they won't even listen to him. And I think that is true to some degree. But, once again, what have you got to lose? What has Nancy Pelosi done for you? What has Chuck Schumer done for you?
Well, by the way, here's one
for the Black community, except run for your vote.
Here's one. I want to interject with interpretation of a fact from the recent CNN poll, and then we're going to go back to Michael. I promised him the last word. The recent CNN poll, which says that Joe Biden is winning nationally, but that Donald Trump is leading in about 15 of the battleground states. When you go deeper into that poll, you know what it says? It says that 26% of those tested are African Americans, and they're going to vote for Donald Trump. 26%. So that means, in my view, Judith and Mays, the stuff that the president is saying and doing, you may not be the only one that's understanding that, Mays. There may be more. They may not be the ones that call your show or send you vicious Facebook posts. But, I mean, there appears to be, at least according to this poll, a considerable number of African Americans who are willing to give Donald Trump a chance.
Can I say one thing? And then Mays, I'll let you talk. But the other morning, I'd never heard your show. So I got on the internet and I listened to your show for a while. And there was a gentleman who called up who had some very terrible things to say about Donald Trump. He sounded to me like he was a Black man. I assume he was. And he said, come November, I'm going fishing.
That's Brother Hall.
You remember him?
Brother Hall.
Okay. He shouldn't go fishing. What's he going fishing for? Let him get his community. I assume that he's got some standing in the community. Let him talk to his friends. Let him talk to people and say, you know what? These Democrats are a bunch of charlatans. They don't do anything for us. Look at the children getting murdered on the west side and the south side. Look at what's going on with COVID-19. Look at our neighborhoods. Look at the fact that we don't have enterprise zones. Let's go vote for somebody who can get us some of that.
Okay. Mays, we're going to come back to you. And Michael, are you still on the phone?
I am, but I don't have anything
Okay.
put together in my head to say. It's all
That's
over
okay.
the board. But
Thank you.
I like your guess.
Thanks very much. You started the conversation. We'll continue it. I'm Bruce DuMont, and don't go away.
Dallas, St. Louis, Nashville, Tuscaloosa. All major cities to feel the destruction caused by a direct hit from a tornado. Is Chicago next? It's not a question of if, but when, and the clock is ticking. Learn what to do now at ready.illinois.gov to become tornado ready.
Bruce DuMont back in Evanston, Illinois, and let's go to Bonnie listening to us in Crown Point, Indiana. Go ahead, Bonnie.
Hello, Bruce. I got two comments to make.
Good.
I'm a commercial real estate lender.
Good luck.
And I work on Saturdays. So I get off because I had to look at a property on the west side. And so I get off at 290 at Laramie, and I start heading north. So now I'm on the south side of the city on Laramie.
Yeah.
And I passed multiple intersections that I had to stop at because there were lights. There were major intersections. And there were a lot of African-American men there. They're all wearing masks under their chin. And I'm thinking to myself, what's the point exactly? And they were not socially distancing themselves. They just were having the mask stuck under their chin. That's my first comment. My second comment is, I had a customer who was a real estate investor, but she also owned a little grocery store on the south side in an African-American neighborhood. Unfortunately, she was Korean. And she, at some point, quite a few years ago, she closed the little store. She sold the property. And I says, why did you close the store? She says, I can't make any money. She says, first of all, the people in the community think that I'm some foreigner coming in, opening a store to take advantage of them and overcharging the people there. She said, yeah, my prices were higher. I'll admit that. She said, but the amount of shoplifting required me to charge more in order for me to make any kind of a profit whatsoever.
Bonnie,
So
one second. Let's let Mays respond because he has probably heard similar stories like this in the past.
So Bonnie, first, thanks for calling. I would encourage you to, if you want to see, you saw those people when you were driving on Laramie. You were on 290, so you probably saw a lot of white people getting off of Laramie, going to pick up drugs, because that's also known as the heroin highway. Now, and taking them back to the suburbs. Now, let me also say that while you were probably looking, if you would have turned right instead of going left and went north instead of south, then you would have seen all types of white folks with no masks on, not socially distancing, breaking every rule and every law. When it comes to the lady that you talk about who opened up a little corner store in a black neighborhood, but she couldn't make any money, let's be clear, she came to make a profit. She didn't come to do it because it was altruistic. She came because she knows that that is a community that is a food desert. And so they are trapped. And so she does get to charge them higher prices. And so perhaps, maybe just perhaps, if she built a relationship with the people in the community she was looking to profit off of, they would see her as a part of the community as compared to someone invaded. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on. Let's go to Joy in Spokane, Washington.
Hi, I am an older white woman, and I've lived in California, and I now live in Spokane, which is a very different type of community. But, you know, the way I like to look at it is I think more of white awareness rather than white guilt or whatever, you know, because I think when you're talking to other people, white people, they'll quickly hold up their hands and say, I'm not a racist. You're accusing me of being a racist. And I'm not. I like everybody. But I think what us whites need to look at is years and years and years and decades and centuries of dominance and what systems have been put in place that maintain that dominance. And like the grocery stores, I was involved as a faith-based community organizer, and I was a volunteer. I wasn't a paid organizer, but we were trying to get a grocery store in East Palo Alto, across the freeway from Palo Alto. And it's a tremendous obstacle to try to do that. Banks do not want a loan, and they don't have any banks in their community. As you said, the convenience stores are offering things in high calorie, high sodium, but that's what they have. Or they take 2 or 3 buses to get into a store, and then the whole time people are looking at them of whether or not they're going to shoplift in that store. Or people will say, you know, well, they just need to have more exercise, join teams. Well, they can't afford, the kids can't oftentimes afford to pay the cost of team sports, or they're not at their schools. So again, transportation is an issue. And I wish, without it turning adversarial, that so many more whites would say, what is it that I take for granted? I myself have not necessarily been a racist, or I haven't done something against a person, but what do I contribute to, and what am I unaware of within our system that particularly keep the African community down?
Joy, I'm going to go to Mays. Mays, take the last minute of our segment tonight and respond to Joy.
You know what? So I think that she is right in that she has seen that there is a benefit to being white in America. If you say that there is not, then you are fooling yourself. Just like there is a benefit to being white in America, there is a negative benefit in a lot of cases for Black people. Let me just say one thing really quickly, because I feel like there's no way I could be on this show without at least mentioning Ashad Arbery and his murder, killed by this citizens arrest. Right. And I think if there is an example of the inequity for Black people in this country, it is that another example of here a Black man just jogging, shot down, and no opportunity for justice. And so, Judith, real quick, please. When you say, what do we have to lose? When you say, what do you have to lose, not from you, but a lot of times the people saying, what do we have to lose, are those same people that were in the back of the pickup truck that killed that brother.
We've got to pause. We're out of time.
Welcome to the world, 2116. You can fly across town in minutes, or across the globe in under an hour. Whole communities are living on Mars. And solar satellites provide Earth with unlimited clean power. In less than a century, Boeing took the world from seaplanes to space planes, across the universe and beyond. And if you thought that was amazing, you just wait.
Today, fresh fruits and vegetables will go from a field in California to a grocer in Miami. A bottle of beer from Eagle Pass will journey to a restaurant in Manhattan. A 2x4 in Oregon will find its way to a townhome in Denver. A hybrid will say goodbye to Detroit and hello to a showroom in Austin. While a steel beam will leave a mill in Illinois for a high-rise in Phoenix. And a flat screen in China will head to an electronics store in Memphis. Because today, as every day, wherever you find business, you'll find us.